leadership styles. You know, I can still remember back in my mid-20s when I realized I didn't know everything about being a leader. What a surprise in my mid-20s. But what had happened was I had been promoted into a role where now I was the national sales manager of a training company that spread across the United States. And I had been a regional manager. I'd done well there. I had been captain of different sports teams as I was growing up. I thought I knew leadership. But now I was in a role where my skill set, my talents, the things I needed to know were failing me. And I began to study leadership. I started by reading books. And then I started looking at great leaders all around and starting to try and notice what were they doing. Back then, when I first started leadership, there was a book out called Leaders. And what had happened was there was a study of leaders where they thought that they could go out and interview all the leaders or many of the great leaders out in the world and find common traits that they had in common. And that was the theory of the 1980s and maybe even the 70s, that great leaders share common traits. And I bought into it, and I thought there was some validity to it. There was some common traits that seemed to make a lot of sense. Like one of them I still remember was that great leaders all have a passion for what they do. And I still believe that's true. But what they found was that these leadership traits that were trying to be made into a cookie cutter type formula that anyone could follow did not prove true from leader to leader to leader. Yes, there were some things like maybe passion for what they did that was consistent, but then there were also other traits that were quirky that one person would have, but someone else might not have, like being outgoing or outspoken. And then you have someone like a Mother Teresa, who was a fantastic leader, that did not have those types of qualities of being outspoken. Maybe she was outgoing, but not outspoken. So great leaders, while they might share some common traits, trying to model your leadership after that was proven not to be the most effective way. And then there was a search for, okay, there's got to be a leadership style that every single leader could employ, and if they did, it would make them successful. That was the next theory that people went after, and there were books written that were trying to prove that there's one leadership style, like taking care of people, just focus on people, or democratic type style, listen to what they have to say. That's the way to do it. This is the one strategy that works, or one style that works. But what they found was that's not true. There were different styles depending upon the situations that great leaders used. And as a matter of fact, what they found, and this is what we're going to be talking about in the 6 leadership styles, is that the best leaders in the world actually don't use just one style. They may have a favorite style, but the best leaders in the world use different styles depending upon the situation. So their leadership is very situational. In a certain situation, they may use a leadership style that they don't even bring out very often, but for that situation, it's perfect. And yet in another situation, they may react or respond completely differently. They may use a style that is something very different from what they just used 5 minutes ago or yesterday. So the 6 leadership styles, what you're going to be learning is not only what the styles are, but you're going to be learning how to use the style and when each style is most appropriate. The leadership style you use influences the way you manage and communicate, the way you motivate people. Certain styles have different motivational impacts on people. They cause people to be more motivated. Some styles will cause people actually to be less motivated, but they may be appropriate in a given moment, in a given situation. Leadership style you use influences the way that you gather information and how much information you gather. It definitely influences the way you make decisions. Are you going to make a decision all on your own? Are you going to involve other people? Well, that's a function of your leadership style. It influences the way you manage change initiatives and the way that you create change within your organization, the way you drive change. And it absolutely influences the way you handle crises. As a matter of fact, when a crisis comes up, there's certain leadership styles that will be very ineffective in handling a crisis. And they may be your favorite leadership styles, but they're not going to work in that situation. You have to go to the best leadership style for that crisis, for that situation. So I said there's 6 styles, and we're going to get into each of the 6 styles in future sessions, and you're going to do some exercises, and you're going to find out that some of the styles you're already really great at. You might find out that some of the styles you don't use at all, or you need to improve upon them. That's okay. The best leaders out there, though, have mastered at least 4 of the leadership styles. And by the way, there are 4 that would be more important for you to master, and you're going to find that out in future sessions. So there's a couple that you still need to know, but if you use them too much, you can actually start to destroy the culture in your organization. And there's another session on culture that you should have listened to or gone through, a coaching session on culture and what culture really is in your organization. Culture is critical. The culture that you are building with your leadership style is going to be important. It's going to be critically important to creating the results that you want. Great leaders with their leadership styles build great cultures. So what are the 6 leadership styles? And I'm just going to give them to you right now. The future sessions will go into a lot of detail. But the 6 leadership styles are the commanding style, the visionary style, the people first style, the democratic style, the do as I do style, and the coaching style. The future sessions, again, you're going to go into each of these styles and you're going to master knowing what these styles are, how you need to act to be able to use these styles, and even more importantly, when to use each of these styles. And each of them does have a time when they can be the most important style, the appropriate style. And then there's also times when these styles, each of them has times when they are absolutely not the style you want to be using. So get ready to learn and get ready to use these. And this is, I think, the most important research that's been done on leadership is that leaders have 6 styles they use, and the best leaders know how to use all 6. You'll be able to use all 6 after you complete the sessions that are coming up.